The mountains of northern Montana had a way of making a man feel small in the right way. Wide skies, endless pine forests, air so clean it almost hurt to breathe. It was the kind of place people came to disappear, and that was exactly why Daniel Cross chose it. His cabin stood alone at the edge of a long dirt road, miles from the nearest town. Weathered wood, a tin roof that rattled in the wind, and a porch that leaned just enough to remind him nothing lasted forever. Daniel liked that. After 20 years as a Navy SEAL, permanence felt like a lie. At 42, Daniel was built like a man who had never stopped training, but there was a quiet heaviness in the way he moved. His dark hair was cut short, streaked with gray at the temples. A faded scar ran along his jaw, barely visible beneath a trimmed beard. His eyes, sharp and watchful, belonged to someone who had learned the cost of not paying attention. Beside him lay Titan. The retired military working dog stretched in the afternoon sun, his black and tan coat dulled slightly by age. A thick scar crossed his shoulder from shrapnel overseas, and his left ear never stood fully upright anymore. But his eyes were clear, intelligent, always tracking movement. Titan didn't bark at squirrels or chase birds. He observed. He assessed. They had served together for 7 years. Explosives detection. Night operations. Places Daniel never spoke about. When Daniel retired, Titan came home with him. Not as a pet, but as a partner who had earned his peace. Most mornings were quiet. Daniel split firewood, repaired fencing, and took small mechanic jobs in town when money ran low. Titan followed at a distance, never straying far, always aware. The first sign of trouble came in the form of a black SUV rolling slowly past the property one afternoon. Tinted windows. Engine low and steady. It didn't stop, but it didn't need to. Titan rose immediately, body stiff, gaze locked on the road until the vehicle disappeared. Daniel felt it too, that old, familiar tightening in his chest. Trouble had a smell. And it was getting closer. 2 days later, Daniel had to leave before sunrise for a repair job nearly 3 hours away. The truck engine echoed through the trees as he loaded his tools. Titan stood beside the driver's door, tail still, eyes steady. Just one night, Daniel said quietly, resting his forehead against Titan's. Guard the place. Titan huffed softly, pressing his head into Daniel's chest. It was a ritual, a promise spoken without words. By nightfall, the forest had gone unnaturally still. No crickets. No owls. Only wind slipping through branches like a warning. Headlights appeared on the distant road. A pickup truck rolled to a stop just beyond the tree line. 3 men stepped out, boots crunching on gravel. They moved with the careless confidence of men who believed no one would stop them. Titan emerged from the shadows of the porch, silent, body low but firm. A deep growl vibrated through his chest, not loud but final. Well, look at that, one man muttered. Guard dog. They spread out slowly. Titan lunged when one stepped too close. Teeth flashed, snapping inches from denim. The warning was precise. The response was brutal. A looped rope caught him from the side. Another man kicked hard into his ribs. Titan twisted, fighting without a sound, muscles straining, claws tearing dirt as they dragged him toward a pine tree. Boss said send a message. The tallest one said voice calm. They hauled Titan up just enough to keep his back legs barely touching the ground. Not enough to kill. Enough to hurt. Blows landed, boots, fists, metal. Titan's body jerked with each strike, but he didn't cry out. His eyes stayed locked on the cabin door. When they finished, one man carved words into the tree bark with a knife. Your turn. They left laughing, engines fading into the night. Titan hung there alone, breath shallow, blood matting his fur. Still he waited. Somewhere beyond the dark forest, the one person he trusted most was driving home, unaware that war had followed him into the mountains. Daniel knew something was wrong the moment he turned onto the dirt road. The air felt heavier. Too quiet. Titan was not on the porch. He stepped from the truck slowly, every sense sharpening. Titan, he called once. A faint creak came from the woods. He followed the sound, and stopped. Titan hung from a low pine branch, body bloodied, barely breathing. For a second, Daniel couldn't move. The world narrowed into a ringing silence. Then training took over. Knife out. Rope cut. Titan collapsed into his arms. I've got you, Daniel whispered, voice breaking. I've got you, buddy. Titan's tail gave one weak thump. Daniel carried him to the truck and drove like a man with nothing left to lose. An hour later, a rural vet clinic door burst open. Dr. Emily Harper, former Army K-9 surgeon, took one look and moved fast. They did this on purpose, she said quietly while working. This was a message. Daniel's face changed. Not rage. Not panic. Focus. Back at the cabin, he studied tire tracks, boot prints, broken branches. He photographed everything. Then he drove into town and walked straight into the sheriff's office. Sheriff Cole Ramirez listened carefully, jaw tight. Land developers been pressuring folks, he said. Using hired muscle. Daniel placed photos on the desk. Then let's end it. What followed wasn't revenge. It was precision. Witness statements. Vehicle records. Security footage from a nearby gas station. Within days, warrants were issued. The arrests happened at dawn. Daniel didn't watch. He sat beside Titan's bed at the clinic, one hand resting gently on his partner's side as steady breathing filled the room. Weeks later, Titan walked the porch again, slower but proud. Daniel stood beside him, watching the mountains glow gold in the evening sun. Peace had returned. But this time, it wasn't because a warrior had run from his past. It was because he had stood his ground and protected what mattered most.